Thank you again. Thank you again. Thank you again for joining us as we continue our study and our reading in this wonderful book, the greatest book ever written, one next to the Bible, the Great Controversy. Next to the Bible, this is the greatest book ever written. So today, as we continue our study, today is August 25th, 2018. We're in the chapter God's Law Immutable. The Bible declares that before the coming of the Lord there will exist a state of religious declension similar to that in the first century. In the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. When the leading churches of the United States, uniting upon such points of doctrines as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce their decrees and to sustain their institution, then Protestant America will have formed an image of the Roman hierarchy, and the infliction of civil penalties upon dissenters will inevitably result. The beast with two horns causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that at the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Revelation 13, verse 16 and 17. The third angel's warning is, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. The beast mentioned in this message, whose worship is enforced by the two-horned beast, is the first or leopard-like beast of Revelation 13. The papacy. The image of the beast represents that form of apostate Protestantism which will be developed when the Protestant churches shall seek the aid of civil power for the enforcement of their dogmas. The mark of the beast still remains to be defined. After the warning against the worship of the beast and his image, the prophecy declares, here are they that keep the commandments of God and of the faith of Jesus Christ. Since those who keep the commandments are thus placed in contrast with those that worship the beast and his image and receive his mark, it follows that the keeping of God's law on one hand and its violation on the other will make the distinction between the worshippers of God and the worshippers of the beast. The papacy has attempted to change God's law. The second commandment, forbidding image worship, has been dropped from the law, and the fourth commandment has been so changed as to authorize the observance of the first instead of the seventh day as the Sabbath. But the papist errs as a reason for omitting the second commandment, that is unnecessary, being included in the first, and they are giving the law exactly as God designed it to be understood. This cannot be the change foretold by prophecy. An intentional, deliberate change is presented. While the worshippers of God will be especially distinguished by their regard for the fourth commandment, since this is the sign of his creative power and the witness to his claim upon man's reverence and homage, the worshippers of the beast will be distinguished by their effort to tear down the Creator's memorial, to exalt the institution of Rome, which is Sunday sacredness. It was in the behalf of Sunday that popery first exerted its arrogant claims, and it is first resort to the power of the state was to compel observance of Sunday as the Lord's day. But the Bible points to the seventh day and not to the first as the Lord's day. Said Christ, the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. The fourth commandment declares the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord. And by the prophet Isaiah, the Lord designates it my holy day. And that is found in Mark 2 verse 28, Isaiah 58 verse 13. As the sign of the authority of the Catholic Church, Papist writers cite the very act of changing the Sabbath into Sunday, which Protestants allow of, because by keeping Sunday, they acknowledge the Church's power to ordain feasts and to command them under sin. The Roman Church has not relinquished her claim to supremacy, and when the world and the Protestant churches accept a Sabbath of her creating while they reject the Bible Sabbath, they virtually admit this assumption. They may claim the authority of tradition and of the fathers for the change, but in so doing they ignore the very principle which separates them from Rome, in that the Bible and the Bible alone is the religion of Protestant. Romanists declare that the observance of Sunday by Protestants is an homage they pay in spite of themselves to the authority of the Catholic Church. The enforcement of Sunday keeping on the part of Protestant churches is an enforcement of the worship of the papacy, of the beast. Those who understand the claims of the fourth commandments choose to observe the false instead of the true Sabbath, or thereby paying homage to that power by which alone it is commanded. But in the very act of enforcing a religious duty by secular power, the churches would themselves form an image to the beast. Hence, the enforcement of Sunday keeping in the United States would be an enforcement of the worship of the beast and his image. But Christians of past generation observe Sundays, supposing that in so doing they were keeping the Bible Sabbath, and there are now true Christians in every churches, not excepting the Roman Catholic Communion, who honestly believe that Sunday is the Sabbath of divine appointment. God accepts their sincerity of purpose and their integrity before Him. But when Sunday observance shall be enforced by law, and the world shall be enlightened concerning the obligation of the true Sabbath, then whosoever shall transgress the command of God to obey a precepts which hath no higher authority than that of Rome, will therefore thereby honor popery above God. He is paying homage to Rome and to the power which enforces the institution ordained by Rome. He is worshiping the beast and his image. As man then reject the institution which God has declared to be the sign of his authority, and honor in its stead that which Rome has chosen as a token of her supremacy, they will thereby accept the sign of allegiance to Rome, which is the mark of the beast. And it is not until the issue is thus plainly set before the people, and they are brought to choose between the command of God and the commandments of men, that those who continue in transgression will receive the mark of the beast. The most fearful threatening ever addressed to mortal is contained in the third angel messages. That must be a terrible sin which calls down the wrath of God, unmingled with mercy. Men are not to be left in darkness concerning this important matter. The warning against this sin is to be given to the world before the visitation of God's judgment, that all may know why they are to be inflicted and have opportunity to escape them. Prophecy declares that the first angel would make his announcement to every nation, kindred and tongue and people. The warning of the third angel, which forms part of the same threefold message, is to be no less widespread. It is represented in prophecy as being proclaimed with a loud voice by an angel flying in the midst of heaven, and it will command the attention of the world. In the issue of the contest, all Christendom will be divided into two great classes: those who keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus, and those who worship the beast and receive his mark. Although church and state will unite their power to compel all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive the mark of the beast, yet the people of God will not receive it. The prophets of Patmos beholds them that had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name, stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God, and singing the song of Moses and the Lamb of Revelation. So, as we learn today by reading in this chapter, The Great Controversy and America in Prophecy, we get to understand that in the near future, this great America in power will be the one that will enforce Sunday observance. Sunday observance, Rome has claimed as the mark of her ecclesiastical authority to command the world to worship the day that she had instituted. But to refuse to obey the seventh-day Sabbath, which is the Sabbath of the Lord, an institution made from the beginning of the world, those who refuse the Sabbath and accept the spurious Sabbath, which is Sunday, will receive the mark of the beast. And this legislation will be legislated in the United States of America, when the Protestant churches will unite on points that are common with them, with the Catholic Church. Then the mark of the beast will be set up. So, again, I'm inviting you to continue to read with me The Great Controversy, the second best book ever written on the earth. And we will learn what the mark of the beast is, 667, 666, and all that will be fulfilled in the last days. Thank you so very much for joining us again, and continue to be with us as we study again next time. Thank you so very much. Bye.